Welcome again to our accounting class, and this is a series of videos that we're doing with respect to published accounts and our question Tuff Tank Incorporated. This is part 3 of our video series, and we were looking in our previous videos at the notes to the account. So we're basically doing our calculation of our various figures that have to go into the income statement, such as turnover, our cost of sales, and in our last video we did the administrative expenses. So in this video what we will be looking at is our note 4, which would be our selling and distribution expense. So we're looking at our selling and distribution expenses, and from our introduction video, we would have stated that our selling and distribution expenses are those expenses which are associated with the selling of the product and also the distribution of the product to the customer, or who we would call the end user. And we had indicated in that video some of these items that may be included under selling and distribution expenses. And some of those items were things like the salesperson's salary and wages, things like commissions on sales, payroll taxes that may have been paid on the salesperson's salaries, various benefits, also travel and entertainment allowance, if they had to rent a facility like a warehouse to store the product in order to get the product out into the market, maybe, so that would, in order to get the product to the customer. Also, we said depreciation on vehicles such as delivery vehicles, and advertising expenses or promotion expenses, and in some cases if utilities are associated with the production and the selling, if the utilities are associated with selling and distributing and the distribution of the product, sometimes some utilities will fall under this area as well. So let's calculate our selling and distribution expenses. And when we look at the question previously, we went back at our question and we had stated that the delivery vehicles was a selling and had to do with selling and distribution. So therefore the depreciation associated with that delivery vehicle would be fall under that heading. We also noted from our additional information that half of the salary and the wages were for the delivery crew, and also we had a delivery expense as well. So let's see, right, our delivery expense was $2,690. that fall on the selling and distribution. So we're going to use these figures to help us calculate what is the total selling and distribution expenses for Tuff Tank for the year ended the 30th of June 2016. So let's go back to our spreadsheet. So our depreciation for delivery vehicles, that is calculated on the cost, and the cost of our delivery vehicle was $60,000, and the depreciation was 5% of that cost. So they use the straight line method for depreciation of our delivery vehicles, whereas we use the reducing balance method to calculate the depreciation on our office machinery. So our depreciation for our delivery vehicles, $3,000, and since that this is a straight line method, it means that each year $3,000 is expense as a depreciation for delivery vehicles. Our next selling and distribution expense is salaries and wages. And we said half of the salary and wages, which is $31,700, would have gone to the administrative expenses, whereas the other half is going to selling and distribution, because half of it was for the office staff, where the other half was for the delivery crew. So $31,700 obviously divided by 2 will give us the same figure we have for admin. So that is $15,850. And our last selling and distribution expense is our delivery expenses, which was $2,690. Right? So we have our delivery, selling, and distribution expenses. So we have selling and distribution expenses. So let's see what that total is now. Our total selling and distribution expense is $21,540. So now we have those expenses. Let's look at doing our income statement. So let's do an income statement. So I'm going to start my income statement on this next sheet here. Go to another sheet and my income statement. So we're looking at our income statement. For Tuff Tank. So let's look at here. So we start with the name of the business, Tuff Tank Incorporated. What are we preparing? An income statement. When are we preparing it for? We are preparing this income statement for the year ending the 30th of June, 2016. So when we're looking at our income statement, we are going to be looking now at using the information from here in my sheet 1. We're using the total figures. We're not going back to this long-winded income statement. We're using these figures. So we start with our turnover based on our format. So we will have our turnover minus our costs of sales, which will give us our gross profit. So let's go back to the income statement. So we're continuing our income statement. So we're going to start our income statement with our turnover. So let me get some dollar signs going here. So I'm going to put here. Put in my. So I'm just going to use this format. So we're going to start with our turnover. So our income statement is starting with turnover that would be the figure that we calculated in our sheet 1. So a turnover is $154,845. So that is 154,845, and we would place a little note here that says C note 1. So the person would know to go to the notes and look for note 1 and see how we would have calculated our turnover. Okay, so then from our turnover we say less, or we subtracting our cost of sales, and we will say C note 2. What are our cost of sales figure? $77,550. So that is 77,550. So then our gross profit, so we get our gross profit. So our gross profit, what is it equal to? Our gross profit then will be our turnover minus our cost of sales, which gave us a gross profit of $77,295. So our gross profit, $77,295. From our gross profit, we are going to subtract our administrative expenses. So we're going to say less administrative expenses, and we're going to say C note 3. So our admin expenses, let's look at note 3. Note 3, our admin expenses total $39,065. So let's enter that. $39,065. Then we are going to subtract from our gross profit as well our selling and distribution expenses. So selling and distribution expenses, and we will see C note 4 as well. So that's our selling and distribution expenses. And our selling and distribution expenses in note 4, $21,540. So $21,540. When we subtract our selling and distribution expenses, we will get something called our operating profit. So let's subtract those figures. $77,295 our gross profit minus $39,065 minus our $21,540 give us an operating profit of $16,690. So we have operating profit $16,690. So then what we have to do is to then subtract according to our format for that we would have had in our previous video. According to our format for our income statement, what we have to do then is subtract any interest payable and similar charges, and we will have to add any interest, any investment income and interest receivable. So when we come back, we are going to complete our income statement, and we will see what our profit is before our taxation and a profit after our taxation. So when we come back, we will be looking at those items. So like, share and subscribe to this channel.